1 minute and counting. All systems go. The sound suppression water system is now being armed. Pre-liftoff water will be released at T-minus 16 seconds. T-minus 48 seconds. Solid rocket booster development flight instrumentation recorder has gone to the record mode, and the main propulsion system liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen outboard fill valves have been closed. We're coming up on auto sequence start. T-minus 31 seconds, and we have a go for auto sequence start.
What qualities do you think you had as a teacher slash counselor that made you a favorite with the class of 1975?
Well, that's a good question. But before I get into that, though, I'd just like to tell you guys that you can drop the mister. It's just Scotty now. I'm out of that game. With regard to the question, I didn't have to impose discipline on anybody at North High School. The people that I worked with either ran for or volunteered for elective positions. I was primarily responsible for giving the class officers and the social recreational council a little guidance and not too much supervision. So I didn't have to be a heavy in any way, shape, or form. So it made it easy for me, you know, to relate to the kids.
Okay, Scotty, what were some of the more humorous moments you can recall that happened with the class of 1975?
I can remember one incident with your class in particular, and Brian and Ben, amongst others, I think quite a few others, before we were going to play the Whetstone game, one night decided to make a little raid on Whetstone. Well, I guess they all dressed in black attire, painted the faces, so on and so forth. And we're in the parking lot at Whetstone, and they had climbed up on the roof and had hung a banner. Not a very complimentary banner on the front of Slippery Rock High. While a couple of them were still on the roof, somebody started shooting off bottle rockets in the parking lot, one of their own. And I guess they finally decided they better get out of there while the getting was good. Well, they did. Now, unfortunately, during the night, the wind came up and blew the sign up on top of Whetstone High School. So when the Whetstone kids came in that morning, they were oblivious to the fact that this raid had taken place. Well, you know, Friday night, stadium was full. With our record, the stadium was full. And that was just the place to be and the thing to do. And those traditions developed over the years, and a lot of the more recent traditions could be attributed to Meta Gregg. Meta Gregg was the activities coordinator at North. She was the dean of activities coordinators.
Can you give us a little background on how you ended up being a North?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story, I think. I had been at Roosevelt Junior High School for about 12 years, and I'd had enough of junior high. I wanted to see how the big kids operated, so I put in for a transfer. I did receive the transfer and was planning on going back to Roosevelt the following fall, when in August I received a call from Dick Munsell. As you know, Dick Munsell was the principal when you guys were there. Well, Dick Munsell called, and you know, I was kind of surprised, and he said, "I suppose you're wondering why I'm calling." I said, "Well, yes, I am." He said, "Well, you know, you put in for a transfer." He said, "You didn't get it." He said that it's not been published yet, but I'm going to be the new principal at North High School, and I need an activities coordinator. And I thought a moment. I said, "Well, Mr. Munsell," I said, "what's an activities coordinator?" He replied, "How the hell should I know? I've never had one before." And I said, "Well, let me do a little checking and get back with you." And so I talked to a couple people with high school experience, and they said go for it. So I called him back and and wound up at good old North High School with, didn't know what I was getting into. So, but I was happy that I got into it. It was the best 10 years of my teaching career, the time I spent at North. And it was because kids like you guys who were into doing things, constructive things, and oh, I'm at the booster drive, good Lord. You couldn't get that many kids on a booster drive anyplace else in the country, I don't think. And it was just a myriad of things that made North just special.
everything we learned in school. Still we're trying to break every single rule. Well, little brainy Bobby be the stockbroker man, can ever find a job that won't interfere with the tan. I keep thinking that it's not goodbye. Keep on thinking it's our time to fly. And this is how it feels. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever. Friends Will we think about tomorrow like we think about now? Can we survive it out there? Can we make it somehow? I guess I thought that this would never end, and suddenly it's like we're women and men. Will the past be a shadow that will follow us round? Will these memories fade when I leave this town? I keep thinking that it's not goodbye. I keep on thinking it's our time to fly. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever.
Entering North High School as a sophomore was a frightening experience. It seemed immense with its many classrooms, advanced subjects, new teachers, and a sea of new faces. This was quite a change from junior high, but served as a challenge making new acquaintances and developing new friendships. This all seemed impossible at the time, but now looking back, things soon fell into place. September brought to us an excitement of our first football game. Along with this came our first homecoming dance with the theme Color My World. Our football team had a successful season, ending with a 40-0 victory over our rival Whetstone. Basketball season rolled around. Our team had a winning season, defeating East, the #1 team, 56-53. Rugby tug was a new event to our sophomore class. The sophomores beat the juniors and would have defeated the seniors had it not been for a small default in the rope which caused it to break. Finally, the day crept upon us when we would no longer claim the title of sophomore. We would no longer be rookies at North High. Starting to North in September, our junior year still proved to be a challenge, making new friends and getting more involved in school activities. Fall came, bringing with it fun and excitement of football. Our football team won 3 games against, again, defeated Whetstone with a score of 7-6. The thought of homecoming then entered our minds. For the first time, instead of having the dance on Friday after the game, it was held on Saturday, giving us ample time to prepare for the dance. In November, basketball season began. Our team having an unsuccessful season, winning our first game against Watterson, not mentioning the rest. Tradition of the Ballad Bow Dance was changed. It was a turnabout with the girls doing the asking, thus giving them the chance to ask that special someone. Noise and laughter filled our gym with the first donkey basketball tournament. GAA members played against the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. The girls were victorious overall. Something we had looked forward to in our junior year was the excitement of our senior year. Finally, the day had come when we were the upperclassmen. There were so many things to enjoy, the many activities that were ahead. Along with the anticipation of being a senior, there was a sadness in knowing that this would be our last year at North High School. Shoving this thought in the back of our minds, we strove to make our senior class the best yet. We also knew it was time to start thinking about our future and the many decisions that were to be made. The excitement of the football season followed the opening of school. We all enjoyed the pep assemblies, cheering for our team, and the stirring music of our great band. As it turned out, our team had a season of bad luck, but we always felt our Polar Bears were the best. With the enjoyment of football season came the thrill of our homecoming dance with the song Close to You. The gym was decorated in the background of exotic colors, creating a wonderful atmosphere. All of us wanted to make this the best homecoming dance, knowing that it would be our last. Following the football season came wrestling, with our team having a good season. Our booster drive was a success, all of us working together to support our athletic department. The sophomore, junior, and senior classes competed against each other, making a total of $2,430. November brought the beginning of basketball season. An old tradition of North was relived by the class of 75, with the organization of the Hubba, a cheering section to support our Polar Bears. Pre-Christmas drag began to set in. We all were looking forward to our 2-week vacation, which turned out to be extended by a week due to the first teacher strike in Columbus. February brought the traditional Ballad Bow Dance, which was held at the Pickford Hayes Hotel. The girls again this year had the privilege of inviting that special someone. The next event was our senior game. The class officers introduced the senior game, adopting the title of Tough Darts. There were many other activities to look forward to, such as the donkey basketball tournament, baseball grubby tug, and the musical production of The King and I. All of us realized our 3 years at North were coming to an end. Senior Olympics, Memory Lane Prom, Senior Supper are some of our last memories at North. It does not seem possible that the closing of our senior year is here. It seems like only yesterday that we entered the halls of North High School for the first time. In June, the class of 75 became the 50th class to graduate from North High School. It will always be our hopes that friendships we've made at North shall endure throughout our future lives, and that we shall look forward to our class reunions to renew our cherished, nostalgic experiences.
Removed when they decided to close North, but equally as shocked because I felt that we had probably the best faculty and student body in the entire city. And that's a very prejudiced statement on my part, but I was very, very pleased to be here.
Okay, Mr. Spivey, well, what do you think made our class unique?
We had a lot of parent involvement with the class. We had a lot of good involvement with the student leaders, as I can recall. There was a total dedication to being successful at North, and I think that's what helped the class quite a lot.
How about you, Mr. Dale?
What I continue to always find in North was the leadership of so many of the students, the capability of them in taking responsibility for things and following through with them. I know one of the things that we always did is start right at the beginning of the year with marching band. We had the squad leaders, and they were always seniors. And those seniors really would instill in the new sophomores that came in that what they were doing was important and they should really work at it and be responsible for their performance and try and continue in the tradition of North High.
Classmates, I'd like to introduce Mr. Arthur Darnborough and Miss Loretta Hoffaker-Radigi here for an interview for our DVD. Miss Radigi, what do you think made our class of 75 or just North High School unique?
Some of my best memories of teaching are here at North. I think one of the things that was great was that the staff always got along so well. We always had a lot of fun together. We bowled on Monday nights, and we drank on Friday nights. No, we went to the Pendulum. Sometimes we had Christmas parties at Miss Seacrest's house. She'd just pull a Christmas tree out of the closet because it was already decorated from the year before. We had great end of the year parties. So we had a great staff and great students. It was only my third year of teaching. I think we all graduated, so I had you my second year of teaching, and we always had such a great time in creative writing. I loved teaching creative writing and getting to know you so much through your writing, and it was a great group of kids that year. I had a lot of fun memories, a lot of fun with Senior Olympics, and I think we were Radigi's roly-poly refrigerator raiders or something crazy that year, but we had lots of fun.
Mr. Darnborough, the same question goes to you. What do you think made our class unique?
Well, first of all, there were great numbers of kids who scholastically stood out and went on to great success in college, and a real fun group of seniors in your class. And I like the way they supported us during the strike when we were walking the picket line for a week in January and froze our butts off. And by the time you graduated, I had about 10 years in teaching, 10 or 11. I'm considerably older than this young lady right here. And it was the best teaching experience of my entire 30 years. She had 31 when she retired. But it was a marvelous place to teach, and I echo what Loretta said about the faculty. We supported one another, and when we were transferred to other schools once North closed, you saw what we lost because it did not exist in the other schools. And I just had a grand time. It was great fun, and I've gotten to be personal friends with a lot of the kids in the class, and I still refer to them as kids even though they're a little bit older now.
But we're not.
That's it.
that's why.
Not Miss Huff.
Yes, I'm still friends with some of the teachers from Fort Hays.
Right.
In fact, I just talked to Diane Hollenbaugh-Voorhees, who taught OWE. I just talked to her last night, and I just saw Verda Parks last week. So I still am in contact with some of those teachers, and we've remained friends over the years.
As I am with Jack Baker. Oh yeah, grand fellow.
How did you end up teaching at North, and what did you do after North closed?
Well, how I got to North is a little bit interesting. I lived up in Massillon, Ohio, and was working in a bank after I graduated from Capital, and was just working this summer after I graduated from Capital, and I kept calling down here, and I just kept saying, I need an interview, and so they gave me an interview at a couple of middle schools, and I said, no, I'm not going to middle school. And so they called me finally, and they said North High School, and I got in here, and Mr. Spivey was the man who interviewed me, and he said, well, he interviewed me, we talked for a long time, and he says, well, I don't know, you're replacing a black teacher who's very, very popular. And I looked at him and I went, well, I could be very, very popular. And I've still got a month left, I can get a lot more tan. And he just laughed and laughed, and the next thing I knew, about 2 days later, they called and said, you have a job here, so I was not happy. And after I left after I left North, I went to, I took off a year, and I have Heidi, and my oldest daughter, and then I went to Independence for a year. And then I took another year off, and I have another daughter, Holly. then I was at East High School for 7 years. And then after East, I went to Fort Hays, and I was at the Arts and Academic High School there for 16 years. And I just retired last spring.
Still a kid.
Pardon me?
Still a kid.
Mr. Dornborough, how about you?
Well, I came to North as a replacement for a veteran teacher named Walt Warren, who had been injured in World War II and had half a kidney and had to take a whole year off. And so I was sort of on a temporary status. And I taught the year before in Logan Elm in Pickaway County. And the year I came, I was the only male teacher in that group of new teachers. And when North closed in '79, there was only one other woman teacher and I out of that group that came that year, still here, because of people transferring or retiring. And I had 13 years here, the best of the 30 by far. And they shipped 11 of us from from north to west. And that was, we referred to it as the Black Hole of Calcutta. And it still was that way when I retired. And so I spent 16 years there. Then I retired and worked for a coffee company, drove a flower van, and I've been 5 years at the Upper Arlington Library, which I love. But nothing will replace North, I don't think, do you?
No, nothing.
And it was by far the most wonderful teaching experience I've ever had. And it's because of the students, first and foremost, and because of the friendships we made, not only with the students, but with the teachers, too.
I strongly agree with that.
Yep.
It was by far the best, by far the best of my teaching career.
Yep.
And the best just, there was something about North, there was so much loyalty, whether it was staff or students. There's just a loyalty that certainly lasts this 30 years.
Loretta, what funny memories do you have of North High School?
I have a lot of funny memories. Probably the funniest one, and I tell this once in a while to people, is that one day I was teaching and it just seemed like everybody was half asleep. It was in creative writing, actually, and there was a kid in the back. Well, anyways, I stood up and I just got real indignant, and I said, I could stand on this desk naked and nobody be paying attention. And this kid that was sitting in the back, Mike, he said, his head came up, and he went, I would. So I watched what I said after that.
The men teachers heard about that in the lounge. They were waiting for that.
Waiting for me to...
Yep.
Oh, I think we goosed you in the cafeteria one time.
I jumped a lot with that. You weren't expecting that, were you, Bob?
No. Well,
We had fun.
Arthur, what funny memories do you have?
Well, I liked it when they took all the outer doors off the restrooms because of the marijuana smoking. And I had potty duty right across from 204 and 205, and I used to tiptoe in during homeroom and see whom I could catch. And I went in and said, gotcha, to one of them, and he practically fell out the window backwards. And you know, with all the troubles that were beginning to take place, cigarette smoking was not high on my list to turn someone in. And then the toilets would overflow, and the teacher's lounge. If the voting public knew what went on in that men's teacher's lounge, they'd never pass another levy.
Yeah, they wouldn't let the women in. I do remember that, although I think it was might have been Mike Kabaka's birthday. Mrs. Hollenbaugh and Miss Parks and I went into the restroom, or went into the men's room, the men's lounge, and on his birthday, and they had a cake that was part of a woman's...
Giantonio.
Yeah, part of a woman's anatomy.
Anatomically correct.
For Mr. Kabaka?
Oh, yeah.
They did it for everybody.
And they had the men for you ladies. From Giantonio's down here.
We did have a good time.
Yeah.
We supported one another.
We did.
And that was something that I really missed at other schools.
It didn't
is that
exist.
the staff was not supportive of one another at all. And here, we would have done anything for
That's
one
right.
another, and did sometimes as far as
Yes.
helping one another. that was important.
We will be at your reunion. We look forward to it. I always look forward to those, don't you?
Yes, yes.
And it was a great bunch of kids, as I keep saying, even though you're a little bit older. And we wish you Godspeed and all the best, and hope to see as many of you as we can on the designated date. And she drinks a lot, I don't. But we'll see you then. Take care.
What qualities do you think you had as a teacher / counselor that made you a favorite with the class of 1975?
Well, that's a good question. But before I get into that, though, I'd just like to tell you guys that you can drop the Mr. It's just Scotty now. I'm out of that game. With regard to the question, I didn't have to impose discipline on anybody at North High School. The people that I worked with either ran for or volunteered for elected positions. I was primarily responsible for giving the class officers and the social recreational council a little guidance and not too much supervision. So I didn't have to be a heavy in any way, shape, or form. So it made it easy for me, you know, to relate to the kids.
Okay, Scotty, what were some of the more humorous moments you can recall that happened with the class of 1975?
I can remember one incident with your class in particular, and Brian and Ben, amongst others, I think quite a few others, before we were going to play the Whetstone game, one night decided to make a little raid on Whetstone. Well, I guess they all dressed in black attire, painted the faces, so on and so forth. And we're in the parking lot at Whetstone, and they had climbed up on the roof and had hung a banner. Not a very complimentary banner on the front of Slippery Rock High. While a couple of them were still on the roof, somebody started shooting off bottle rockets in the parking lot, one of their own. And I guess they finally decided they better get out of there while the getting was good. Well, they did. Now, unfortunately, during the night, the wind came up and blew the sign up on top of Whetstone High School. So when the Whetstone kids came in that morning, they were oblivious to the fact that this raid had taken place. Well, you know, Friday night, stadium was full. With our record, the stadium was full. And that was just the place to be and the thing to do. And those traditions developed over the years, and a lot of the more recent traditions could be attributed to Meta Gregg. Meta Gregg was the activities coordinator at North. She was the dean of activities coordinators.
Can you give us a little background on how you ended up being at North?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story, I think. I had been at Roosevelt Junior High School for about 12 years, and I'd had enough of junior high. I wanted to see how big kids operated, so I put in for a transfer. I didn't receive the transfer and was planning on going back to Roosevelt the following fall, when in August I received a call from Dick Munsell. As you know, Dick Munsell was the principal when you guys were there. Well, Dick Munsell called, and I was kind of surprised, and he said, "I suppose you're wondering why I'm calling." I said, "Well, yes, I am." He said, "Well, you put in for a transfer." I said, "You didn't get it." He said that it's not been published yet, but I'm going to be the new principal at North High School, and I need an activities coordinator. And I thought a moment. I said, "Well, Mr. Munsell," I said, "what's an activities coordinator?" He replied, "How the hell should I know? I've never had one before." And I said, "Well, let me do a little checking and get back with you." And so I talked to a couple people with high school experience, and they said go for it. So I called him back and wound up at good old North High School with, didn't know what I was getting into. So, but I was happy that I got into it. It was the best 10 years of my teaching career, the time I spent at North. And it was because kids like you guys who were into doing things, constructive things, and oh, I'm at the booster drive, good Lord. You couldn't get that many kids on a booster drive anyplace else in the country, I don't think. And it was just a myriad of things that made North just special.
Hey Bob, let's see if Mr. Harker's still here. You think he's still in his old room?
No, there's no way.
Well, Bob, he is here!
Hey! Hey there! Hi, polar bears! It's you later. I've morphed into a different person. Playing my music, not teaching school, but I guess you guys aren't going to school anymore either. So it all works out. I'll try to answer the questions. I hear Mr. Scott's been here, and I'm afraid what he might have said, but I'll try to do a good job for you. I want to give a good grade.
Well, friends, I'd like to introduce P.T. Harker, as Mr. Scott calls him. He wouldn't tell us what the P stands for. Anyhow.
It's for pretty.
Pretty?
No, for Fenton, P-H-E-N-T-O-N. My dad's name was Fenton Travis, and my name's Fenton Thomas, and my son's name is Fenton Travis. But Dad went by P.T., I went by Tom, and Travis goes by Travis. So it's no secret.
What were some of the more humorous moments you can recall that happened with our class?
There were probably a lot of things. Right off the top of my head, a couple come back to my mind. I wasn't that much older than you guys, and I was probably a little naive. And at one wrestling match, you know, everybody's starving at wrestling matches. It might have been Marysville or someplace. It was a big tournament. It wasn't just a duel. And we all have to get up early, and we go to the place, and people have to make weight. And I don't know, Joel Survey or Likens or somebody came up and said, maybe it was Scott, I can't remember who said it, "Mr. Harker, the whole team's got a case of the Hershey Squirts." I thought, well, I've never heard of Hershey Squirts. Now I know Hershey Kisses, but thank God we got something to eat. And then I realized what he really meant. And I didn't say anything, but I'm confessing now. We were partners. We were the FBN paint crew. FBN stood for Fly By Night. But we did a good job. We actually drafted his sisters to help us too. We were an equal opportunity paint crew, and we did a lot of work. But anyway, one day when I was painting, this started to come to me, and I kept saying it over and over again until I got home, and this is what we came up with. Hopefully this will touch some of your remembrances too. It's called North High School. And remember, we have those, we used to have those gargoyles above the door. I don't know what happened to them, they flew away, but it refers to that. North High School. An imp sits there above the door, contemplating concrete lore and fending off the blackbird that spoke to Poe in days of yore. Inside, old Everett smiles woodenly and dumb, collecting only dust where once he gathered chewing gum. And almost no one mentions Greg, except the grown-up unwed mothers taking shorthand. And if they do, it's Meadowatt and Hagley who, and pop is but a soft drink, or what angered weasels do. What was a home now houses strangers who forgotten house, and tradition recedes almost at once, like the ravine which took so long to build. In a day it can be filled and forgotten. No one there, I think, feels the past. Who cares about a brickyard and a rail under a goalpost? Such things cannot last. There is no time for ageless Earl, nor burned courthouses and suits for Montgomery wards. Yet, as long as there's a Baker and a Shaw, each year we travel back. And what we had, we have again, and carry on the soul of North, though it has fled the building, where, above the door, the imp still sits, employing all his concrete wits to keep away the raven. Thus, if we are to hear a word, the imp will speak, and not the bird. For writ upon his book of stone, what he studies there alone is but one word, nothing more. A hopeful, ancient bit of lore. He'll read of North forevermore. Let's see, I'll do a song just so you can decide whether I'm worth listening to. I ain't nothing but a hound dog. I'm a poor excuse for a man. Since you left me, baby, all I got left is here to spend. Whoa, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I got this here can of spend. Baby, I ain't got you on breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All the same damn thing. Processed pork can get me by. It can't make me sing. Whoa, I got this band eating blues. And I think
Thank you.